Hi, I'm Peter McGough. I'm here with Dorian Yates, six-time Mr. Olympia, fellow Brit. We're at the Masters Olympia in Miami. We first met in Morecambe, which is a bit different to Miami.
By the sea, so there's something something in common there. But Morecambe is a northern seaside town, as we call it in England. So it's by the beach, but it's definitely not Miami Beach. It's cold, it's rainy, windy. 1985 was my first contest that I did in the EFBB, which is IFBB in England, novice competition. So I went there I felt fairly confident about, I could probably win the novice competition. But as you know, you were there. The reaction that I got from the crowd and all the judges and everything was amazing. So that day I knew that I could be a good bodybuilder. I don't know about being a Mr. Olympia or anything like that. I really wasn't seriously thinking about that. But the reaction I got told me that, hey, if you can get this reaction at this point when you've only been training for like a year and a half, then perhaps you've got a future in this and you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing.
I mean, you were 23 at the time. You've just celebrated your 50th birthday. I was 34, 35.
It was only after 2 minutes ago.
And here we are in Miami. We've both come a long way. And that day, I mean, it's engraved in my memory. I don't think I've ever told you this side of the story. I'd heard stuff about you from Jeff Collins, the photographer who's from Birmingham, but in those days there was no internet, there was no iPhones to send pictures, so we didn't really know.
Rumours though, and they spread really quick, in those days. The guy from this gym knows this guy. The word used to get around, so it was communication wasn't as fast, but yeah, the word definitely got around.
And I got late to the contest because going up the M6 there, the traffic was horrendous. And I saw Frank Richards across the hall. He'd just been in the Night of the Champions after a 14-year layoff, got fifth. I went across to congratulate him. I don't think I've told you this story. I got my back to the stage, and I'm congratulating Frank, and I said, now you're back, you'll be back for a few years. He says, no, I'll only be around 2 or 3 years. And I said, why? And at that point, Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics started to play. Dun, 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 dun. And Frank said, and he's pointed over my shoulder at the stage, because of like that.
Bastard.
And I turned round and I saw this human granite statue walk out, and it was like, we'd never seen condition like that. Andrew Searle, the British heavyweight champion, was there. He basically said, that's me done with for next year. Did you expect that sort of reaction?
I had no idea that would be the reaction. I was like, my kind of, already setting goals and everything. My goal was to try and win this contest, which I thought I had a good chance of winning it. And I wanted to go on then to do the finals at the British Championship, but the novice finals. I wanted to try and win the novice Britain, and I remember being backstage and looking at other guys, and it looks pretty good. And but obviously when I see the pictures now, the guys I'm standing next to, there's no comparison. But I didn't quite realise at the time, So it was a revelation, and it gave me a boost. Like, you can do something. There was a lot of interest. Ron Davis, who was head of the EFBB at the time, and I think he was heavily involved in the IFBB, so he knew a lot of people, knew all the athletes and everything, and he took interest in me and invited me to the World Games. So kind of threw my plans off a little bit there to go into the novice British Championship, because I basically went from one weekend in a novice competition to the following weekend being in the World Games, which was equivalent to a World Championship. So it was like really in at the deep end, and I didn't enjoy that because I didn't think I was really ready for that standard of competition, although I did well. I did 7th place out of 13 guys, right? So not bad for a novice, but still, from that day I said, well, I'm not going to enter a contest again unless I feel I'm ready to win that contest. Of course, never guaranteed you're going to win it, but as long as you're confident you're going there with the goods that you could win the contest. That was my goal from that time on.
I mean, you won that novice contest in Morecambe, and I remember you started walking up the pier with your bag, and I came running after you, and I think you thought I was a bit of a lunatic because I was asking for an interview and a photo session.
I don't think he was a lunatic. It was a compliment. The magazines wanted to talk to me. I didn't really have any. Still didn't really sink in the impact that I'd made. I was like, wow, the magazines want to talk to me. That's cool. But I was just putting my trophy in the car for safekeeping. I wasn't leaving, and it wasn't my car because I didn't have a car. I even had to like catch a lift up there to get to the contest. My friend had to take me up there in a hired car. So it's how things have changed, you know.
So then, I mean, as you've said before, that was a learning curve for you. You never did anything under anybody else's behest. I mean, the AFB wanted you to do that contest. After that, you did exactly what Dorian wanted to do.
Yeah, I don't like being out of control. I like to be in control of my destiny. So that's always been the way I try and do things. And of course, you're always going to get people trying to influence you, push you, pull you, whatever, for their own reasons. So it can be difficult, but you just got to keep your eye on and be confident in what you want to do and stick to that, and that's what I tried to do.
And then when you came 86, the British Championships, you won the heavyweight division but lost the overall to Chris Oskies in the light heavies, which was a really, really poor result. And let me tell you, I watched it happening, and I know you're cool, and I thought, I'm going to go backstage and he's going to be jumping up and down and flashing floor. And I always remember I got back there and you stood there with your hands on the hips and looked at me, and all you said was, well, I'm pissed about that one, and then you walked off.
Yeah, pissed off. There's no reason to get any more excited than that, and I kind of look at it now. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. It was a bad decision, and I think it was a little bit my first experience of maybe a bit of politics and stuff, because I was the new guy. I didn't know anybody. I don't really know, but anyway, you get it, right? Sometimes you have bad decisions, and I think that was one of them. But if I'd have won that contest and I'd have won the whole shebang, the British overall, then I would have been eligible to be a professional. And at that point, I don't believe I was ready. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise, you know. It gave me a bit more time. I actually took 2 years to come back and do the British Championship again and win that outright, and then be confident that I was good enough to be a pro.
And then if we fast forward, you won the British, you were in hell of a shape. I'd just been to the Olympia, the 88 Olympia, and what I saw on stage at the British, because it was fresh in my mind, I was totally confident you would have been top 6 at the Olympia in that condition, and you were still a work in progress. And then you took another 18 months off to come at the Night of the Champions, and I always remember the athletes meeting, nobody's looking at you, who is this guy? You know, Eddie Robinson was there, Bob Parris, they were there, Robbie was there, but when you walked on stage, it was like you drew 26 was the last number, and they always say, oh, well, you're on the end of the line, nobody will notice you. And everybody's saying, who is this guy? Is he Swedish? Is he Russian? What is he?
Yeah, it broke down all the myths, as I see it, because this all I heard pretty much in England was like, oh, yeah, but you know the Americans, you can't beat the Americans, as if they have more than 2 arms or something, you know. And the other thing was, of course, you don't know the judges don't know you don't have any publicity in the magazines, all these things, you know, they're going to go against you and you're not going to do well. But I didn't listen to that, and I think if you're good enough, people are going to see it, right? So I went there, I think it was, 20-something guys there, and right on the end of the lineup, in the shadows, you know, kind of excuses that people use. I was in the shadows, people couldn't see me, whatever. I had no pre-publicity, but it didn't matter, because when I got on stage, I don't know how long it took, but it was not very long before the New York crowd started stamping their feet and going Dorian from not knowing who I was. I actually remember Wayne DeMiller, who was running IFBB Pro at the time. He came to meet me in New York airport and just walked straight past me, because he had no idea what I looked like, and he was like, I'm sorry, I was looking for a black guy, because you've got a funny name. And all the previous bodybuilders from UK were, you know, Bertil Fox, Johnny Fowler, Albert Beckles, they're all Caribbean, they're all black guys. So he walked straight past me, he didn't recognize me, and so that all changed in a few days.
It's funny you talk about pre-publicity. Maybe this is a thing you don't know. We did a photo shoot with you, Kevin Horton, and I sent the whole thing to Flex, the pictures and the story. And I'd done work for Flex in the previous 10 years, you know, if something in Europe to do it. And I spoke to the editor there, and he said, well, you're only pushing this guy because he's English. And I said, you know, since I've been connected with you, there's been 10 British champions. I've never come on. And they never ran the story. And I said, he's a future Mr. Olympia. Take my word for it. You know, and I was seething mad.
It's going to be Mr. Olympia, right? Okay.
So they missed out on that. But I don't know. I mean, you never said you were going to be Mr. Olympia. It was more me at the time, wasn't it? And
I didn't seriously consider. I always did one thing, a step at a time. So I actually had a plan that when I went to Night of Champions, if I didn't get in the top 5, I was seriously not going to compete again, because I was like, all right, I'll give it my best shot. I've took some extra time out from winning the national championships. Now I'm going to go into a pro show, and if I'm good enough to be a good pro and have a future in the sport, then I'm going to place highly on the first contest. Historically, if you look at the people that are outstanding in this sport, probably only exception maybe is Ronnie, who took a little time to flourish and get to the top. But normally all the guys, Tom Platz, Rich Gaspari, Lee Hain, all the big champions, that, you can see straight away, they come in and boom, and they make an impact. So I was like, this is a lot of sacrifice, a lot of work for me, for everybody around me, and I'm not going to continue to chase the rainbow if there's no rainbow, there's nothing at the end of it. So yeah, unfortunately I got second on that first contest, so that's the history. I carried on.
Yeah, in that 1990 Night of Champions, Momo Benaziza, and he was really at his peak, he was the winner, and it was obviously between the two of you, and I said to you before the pose down, you got to get next to him. You got next to him, and you said to me, I'm going to run after him and do everything but kick his ass off the stage, and that's what you did.
Yeah, well, I went there, and to do my best and compete, and it was very impressive, Momo. He had a great, didn't really have any weak points, very full, great condition, so he was a tough competitor. But yeah, I went there to try and beat him. That was the same time the first time I competed against Lee Haney. I went there with that frame of mind to try and win.